Hey, this is George back with the New Hunter's Guide, and today we've got a big one. This is a big topic, high interest topic, starting equipment for deer hunting. What do you need to get started and what does it need to cost? Now, a lot of people think that you need to spend a lot of money to get ready for deer hunting. And, while you can spend endless amounts of money on deer hunting, you do not need to spend very much to actually get out there into the woods and go after deer. My first hunt in the woods, which was an abysmal failure, and I had none of the right gear, I still was able to get out in the woods having spent $30 on a blaze orange jacket. And that's all I had, and that's all that took me out there. But with a little bit more foresight, you can have a lot better time out in the woods. You don't need to spend a lot of money. It's a much lower bar than most people make it out to. So today I'm going to talk to you about what you really need, and then some of the nice to haves, and then some things to shoot for in the future down the road once you get into this. So, number one thing that you need for deer hunting is equipment to keep you warm. Warm is more important than camo. You gotta be warm or you're just not gonna be able to stay in the woods long enough to do anything. You can spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a camo this and a camo that, but if you're not warm, it doesn't matter. If you go out there with some cheap, already have them warm clothes, there's a lot more you can do than, if you spend all your money on one piece of expensive camo and get out there. So what do you have to have? You got to have pants that are warm enough to keep you in the woods. And the idea here is not necessarily camo. Sure, camo's good, but it's better to have something warm that's dark brown, that's some sort of dark color. Here's a pair of pants that I used for a long time. Still use them for certain things. These are real nice. They're an outer layer. I think we got them at a thrift store for, $5. They are nice and wind resistant. They're jagger resistant. They're not camo. They were super cheap. They keep the wind out. I can wear anything under these. I could put a pair of thermals that I got at Ollie's for $5. I could put some sweatpants on top of that, and I can be in the woods, protected from the wind, plenty dark enough, plenty blending in enough. That's all you need to get out there. Jackets the same way. Dark green, black, brown, darkish anything. If it's warm, that's what you got to do. Whatever you already have is where you should start. Or whatever you can pick up at the thrift store for $10 is a great place to get in. But warm is paramount. Warm is what you need. Boots. Boots are important. You got to have something warm on your feet. My first hunt was a pair of tennis shoes, and that was terrible. Both because they didn't give me enough ankle support to walk across uneven ground, and because they're meant to breathe. So when the wind blew, it went right through my shoes, and my feet were freezing. I think I had like 2 pairs of, white athletic socks on, which was a miserable thing. I would have been much better off with a pair of old dress shoes that were airtight and a pair of reasonable socks. So right here's a sock I use all the time. These are, I don't even know what the brand is. I can barely make it out. They're a smart wool style sock. They are, they're nice. They're nice and soft on the inside. This weighs very little. This is a light wool sock. Light to mid-light. Okay? So it's, light to mid-weight. You get a pack of these, 3 pairs for like 10 or 15 bucks in most places. I got a great pair of heavy-duty, super thick wool socks at Rural King for, I think, $8 one day. Come up to your knees and high, 90% wool. There's stuff you can get out there that's super cheap. Don't wear cotton on your feet. Cotton socks are not good. You want something that is wool or at least polyester, because wool will retain the majority of its thermal insulating properties when wet. And your feet sweat. If you walk through something wet and you're wearing cotton, you're probably done. So you want something that is going to keep your feet warm, but keep you warm even if you get wet. Now, a lot of people think they got to spend a bunch of money on expensive boots. No, you don't. You can get by with a pair of, socks for $10, and then you want to get some of these hand warmers, okay? This is what you need. This is a 2-pack. I think these cost $1. I usually get them by the case. Hand warmers are phenomenal. And I don't put them on my hands. I'm talking about putting them in your shoes. I'll actually tape hand warmers. If this is my foot, these are my toes. I'll put the hand warmer on top of my toes with a light piece of masking tape around it, and then I'll slide my foot right into my boots. And what that's going to do is keep my foot warm in almost any kind of shoes. So if you go somewhere like Walmart or Amazon, you can get a case of hand warmers, a case of 2-packs like this, usually for anywhere from $10 to $20. And that case might have 10 pairs, 20 pairs, 30 pairs. And I will literally use those every single time I go into the woods, unless it's hot out. If it's in any way, shape, or form a little bit chilly, I'll just throw those in my boots for $1. You can't beat it. And you can take pretty much any footwear. You could take an old pair of dress shoes, old pair of hiking boots, old pair of hiking shoes. If you have to, an old pair of sneakers. Throw some hand warmers in there. Get you a reasonable pair of wool socks or woolish socks. And then you can have enough on your feet to keep you going and get you started without having to shell out money for a serious pair of boots. People ask, well, George, what's the best kind of hand warmers? I'm not sponsored by or partnered by anything of any kind of hand warmer companies. I use a few different pairs. These are Hot Hands. I got these because they were on sale at Walmart, super cheap, and I got a couple cases of them. I think Heat Factory is probably the best, though. Those are my favorite. I think they put out the most heat and last the longest, and they're also relatively cheap. Those ones that I got, I decided to opt for some of the lower quality ones just because there was like almost getting them for free. But it doesn't matter. Get some hand warmers, throw them in your boots. You can also use them for your hands, which is, great segue into the next thing you got to keep warm are your fingers. You got to keep the hands warm enough to shoot, and ideally, warm enough to be comfortable. So people also think, well, I got to go and spend, $100 on a pair of really high-end gloves. No, you don't. I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I've still not spent $100 on a pair of high-end gloves. So there's 2 ways to go about this, I think, that are the most effective. The way that I prefer is I got, a pair of cheap gloves like these, okay? These are just cheap camo gloves. I, got these at, ABC big box store. Doesn't even matter. These are cheap camo gloves. These ones are starting to come apart. I grabbed the oldest pair I have, but they held up. They last good. These will keep your hands pretty warm in lots of different circumstances and environments. So wear something like this. I can shoot in them. They've got a good trigger finger. So I like to use those. The other thing I like to use are these glove mitts. Okay. These I got from, Gander Outdoors Gander Mountain, back when there was a Gander Mountain, before there were Gander Outdoors. So I like these. I can shoot in them. When it's cold, I just snap it over like this, and then with no effort, I can just pop it off and be ready to shoot. These ones got some Thinsulate in them. They are, pretty warm if it's not windy. And then if it's a little bit colder, what I will do is I will take this pair of gloves, just like so, ta-da, and then I will just tuck that inside of this pair of gloves. And now I've got significantly more warmth. I can still shoot with the light gloves on, and then I can fold this over, and I'm good to go in a lot of conditions. And then it's real easy to just pop that off, and I'm able to take a shot. You can even put a hand warmer inside this little pouch here to help you out. You can get ones better than these. I got these for, not that many dollars. You can probably pick something up similar for $20. I've gotten better ones since then. Just because I wanted something more windproof, because I hunt in a lot of really cold environments and more than just deer. But this is all you need to get started, something on your hands. The other approach that people do is if you've got a nice coat, you could take your hands with light gloves or no gloves put them in your pockets like this with hand warmers and just hold on to a hand warmer. So then you're out in the woods. You didn't buy anything special for your hands except for, you know, $1 pair of hand warmers, and you're good to go. That'll get you through it. That'll get you started. So you don't need to invest a bunch of money in hand gear. You can take whatever you've got that you're able to shoot in, make sure you practice shooting in it, and then get some hand warmers and just throw your hands in your pockets and keep them warm. Another thing you need is a hat. So what I like to use is something like this. This is an orange hat with a camo pattern on it. I really like things like this. I don't like solid orange hats. To me, that's monocolor, the highest point of your body. I don't love that. I like the little bit of pattern. It breaks it up. Deer can't see orange, but they could see, you know, just this flat color. So these are super cheap. This hat here is real cheap. I don't know if it was 10 bucks even. I like beanies more than ball caps. I don't like the brim for most kinds of hunting. Reason being, you want to hunt with the sun to your back. So you're in the shade. You never want the sun in your eyes because one, if the sun's on you, you're easier to spot. And two, sun's in your eyes. People like to wear a ball cap with a brim in order to keep the sun out of your eyes. But if you hunt right, the sun will never be in your eyes. Well, you have that brim on your head, and whenever you move, you've got this extra thing sticking out from your head that's exaggerating the movements of your head. So it's like your head's twice as big looking up from underneath. So whenever you move, you make a lot more movement signature. So I don't like that. I like a beanie, something that's tight to my head. Like I said, this one's super cheap. I think I got it on Amazon. Is it super warm? No. I throw something under it if it's cold. I can wear anything under this. It's quite stretchy. I've got, you know, a super heavy duty hat I've gotten over the years. And if I'm going out for rifle season and I need orange, I just put this on top of it. And I've got that pattern. It works good. I can wear anything under this. You know, whatever you wear to shovel the sidewalk, put that on. You could throw something like this over top. You got to have orange if it's rifle season and something patterny. You're also going to need orange, you know, vest if you're going out for rifle season. Now, I like to do with orange vests the exact same thing I do with hat. I like to get a vest that has a pattern like this. You know, 15, 20 bucks, maybe 25 bucks. And then get a nice zip-up vest that's orange, that has a little bit of just that little, you know, grayish branches on there, so you're not monocolor. Now, people say, well, George, should I get a big orange coat? My answer is no, and I wish I wouldn't have bought one my first year out. The reason being, most of the things I hunt, you don't need orange for. And then rifle season's only 2 weeks of the year, and then pheasant whenever you gotta go out for that, which is not all that often. So for me to spend a bunch of money and a coat that I'm only gonna use part of the time was not a great investment. Better to eventually get a nice coat that is monocolor, dark color, or camo, and then you can throw on your orange vest that has a camo pattern whenever you're going out hunting, whatever you're gonna hunt. The vest is nice because it's light, it's cheap, you can add it to any outerwear for any situation and circumstances. You know, I've hunted before where I would have a vinyl jacket on. I mean, just sheer vinyl because it's pouring down rain. I don't recommend that either. I don't even recommend hunting in the rain. In fact, I don't really hunt much in the rain unless I'm in a blind to keep me out of it because I hate it and it's pretty terrible, at least for deer. So, but you can get your vinyl coat, you can throw a vest on over top of it, you're ready to go. So, you know, vest with a pattern. You know, you could go and buy a $5 vest and it's going to make swishy sounds like this. Too much, more than I can deal with. It's not going to add any warmth and it's not going to have any pattern to it, but it gets you in the woods. That's what you got to do. Do it. Get in the woods and then learn what you like. If you want to spend a few bucks to get something that's going to be more versatile and complement your longer setup, that's what I would recommend. And then you need some plan to get that deer out of the woods. You got to have a plan. Now, people recommend a deer drag. I think deer drags are great. I've never actually used one though. I'm gonna be honest with you. All the deer I've ever shot, even the ones I had to drag some distance, I never used a deer drag. I had it in my pack, but I would just grab it by the antler or just grab it by the front feet. And I found that to be just as effective, if not more, than a deer drag. I don't know. That's just been my personal preference. That's been my style. A lot of people like deer drag, which is basically a rope that you can either tie around the antlers or tie around the front feet, and then you loop that rope around your chest right here, and then you pull forward, and as you walk, you're pulling the deer. Now, I've never had to drag a deer for miles. If I did, I'm sure that would have been the better option. But, you know, you can get a piece of rope for what? Go to the hardware store and buy 10 feet of rope. You'll be set. If that's too long, you just cut some off in the woods. They make deer drag setups with like a thick strap so it's more comfortable against your body. They make some that'll clip onto the back of your harness if you're hunting out of a tree. There's lots of options. Bottom line is you don't need one. And if you need something cheap to get started, a piece of rope from the hardware store will do the job. So what else do you need in order to hunt? Well, that's about all that you need. Oh, a knife. You got to have a knife. Without a knife, you can't field dress the deer. So you got to get a knife. Small and sharp is what you want. I had a seminar with a professional chef who's retired, taught culinary for 30 years, has been a big game hunter almost his entire life, and he was teaching at an outdoor show how to cook venison. And, you know, the question came up, what's the best knife for field dressing a deer and then butchering a deer? And he said, you know, there's a lot of good brands out there, a lot of expensive, fancy stuff. He said, but the best knife is a sharp one. Doesn't matter if it costs you $5 or $500. The best knife is a sharp knife. Whatever you've got, pocket knife, something that'll fold open, anything will work as long as it's sharp. When he goes elk hunting, he has a little knife that's only 2 inches long because he says every ounce matters in your pack. And he will cut up and butcher an entire elk with that 2-inch knife. The entire elk. Now, deer's a lot smaller than an elk. You need a lot less knife power. But you got to have some kind of a knife to field dress a deer. And it doesn't need to be heavy duty. It just needs to be sharp. So get something you already have, because the best gear to start hunting with is always the gear that you already have, can borrow, or get at the thrift store for next to nothing. So get yourself a cheap little knife. Take a sharp kitchen knife. Wrap it in cardboard. Put that in your pack. That'll do the job. You know, you don't need something fancy. You don't need to buy something special your first season out there. Figure out what you like. Figure out what works good for you. And then invest in something that's a good fit for you once you have that experience. Other things you want to think about bringing. Water and snacks. You might get hungry. You might get thirsty. A pen and string. You're going to fill out that tag, right? So you shot the deer. You have to take the tag, put it on its ear. So you need to have something to fill out your tag with, to write your name and where you shot it. And then you need a piece of string, or actually what I like more than a piece of string is a zip tie. I just put that zip tie right through the tag, wrap it around the ear. I don't even cut the ear, and just zip it, done. Move on to the next thing, super easy. So you need a pen and a zip tie. It's nice to have an umbrella just in case you get caught in a downpour you weren't expecting. Or often you go out and it's okay, 30% chance of rain. You're like, I should be fine. Keep a little umbrella in your backpack. Doesn't have to be a camo umbrella. Doesn't have to be a black umbrella. You're not going to hunt with this umbrella. You're going to sit with this umbrella through a few minutes of unexpected downpour to keep you dry. Other things to think about having. Some latex gloves or vinyl gloves or nitrile gloves in order to field dress the animal. I like the gloves you get that go from your hand all the way up to your shoulder. And then you can put a couple pairs of just the hand gloves over top of that to keep it tight on your fingers. That's my favorite. I don't like to get messy. I don't like to get blood all over me. I would rather just, be as messy as I want to be with gloves that go up to here and then take them off, throw them away, and I'm good to go. And they cost, $1.50 a pair. They're super cheap. Get yourself something like that if you're concerned about it. Some people use their bare hands. More power to you. So gloves are nice to have. Some Ziploc bags are always good. Keep your stuff in. Keep it dry. I've done, talked to people about this before. A backpack is nice. You can throw all your stuff in your backpack. You can throw extra hand warmers and your knife and your pen and your zip ties and your snacks and your water. And a first aid kit if you have one, not a bad idea, not a requirement, but not a bad idea. Throw all your stuff in a backpack, makes it easy to carry. Get that out into the woods. People say, well, George, what kind of backpack should I get? Whatever one you already have. Whatever backpack you've got lying around or that you can borrow or get at the thrift store for cheap, that's the one you should start with. People say, well, it's not going to be waterproof. Look, here is a $200 trick that I discovered, I think, my second or third hunt out. Yeah, you could pay a couple $100 for a nice Gore-Tex backpack that's super waterproof and amazing. Or you can get a plastic garbage bag and keep it inside of your backpack. Just fold it up, slide it in your backpack, put it at the bottom. And if you ever find yourself in a torrential downpour and you need to protect your backpack, you just take out the garbage bag, put your backpack in the garbage bag, and either pull it tight or fold it over. And your backpack is more waterproof inside of that garbage bag than it is inside of a $1,000 Gore-Tex shell. So, that could cost you almost nothing. And if you're ever concerned about that, and if it was raining that hard, you could even put the plastic bag over you and help keep you dry if you got caught in something that was that bad. So you don't have an umbrella, take an extra plastic garbage bag, 55-gallon bag, costs you, I don't even know what it breaks down to, 50 cents a bag. Throw one of those in your backpack and you are good to go if you get caught in that kind of a situation. Other things that are nice to have: whistle, compass. I'll be honest with you, I still don't have a compass. It's been on my list for like 5 years. I don't hunt anywhere where you can walk that far without hitting a road though, or where my GPS doesn't work. So if I was out west, if I was hunting on big land, then a compass would be a very, very important thing to have. Where I hunt, you can't walk a mile in any direction without hitting a road or a house. So your danger there is minimal, and GPS has not failed so far, but even if it did, I could only go so far in any direction. Things not to wear. What you do wear, as long as it's a dark color for anything, is going to be pretty much fine. What you don't want to wear deer hunting is anything blue, white, violet, or a lighter yellow. Deer can see those colors and they stand out like they're glowing neon. Blue jeans is the worst thing you could ever wear into the woods deer hunting. Blue jeans are like blinking neon signs for deer. That color they see very clearly. It basically glows for them. You don't want to have blue anywhere. Not on your body, not near your spot. Nothing blue, nothing white, nothing yellow, nothing violet, nothing in, they can't see red or infrared, but they can see violet and ultraviolet. So you want to be off of that side of the color spectrum. Browns, greens, reds, oranges, olive color, black, camo obviously. Anything in that spectrum is going to work just fine, but you never want to wear blue. I see hunters in the woods wearing blue jeans, and like little fuses blow in the back of my brain. I just have to sit down behind a tree and change them out. I can't even believe what I'm watching with my own eyes. And then these are the same kind of people that are like, oh, there's no deer in the woods anymore. Never see any deer. Haven't shot a deer in years. Too much hunting pressure. Game commission slacking. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's called you're hunting like an idiot. You're wearing the single brightest color deer can see from a mile away, literally. You don't want to do that. If you want to wear jeans, wear something over them. Get you a pair of something like this so that you can just throw over them. That's going to be a different color, and then you'll be set. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. Please hit the thumbs up button. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. It really helps the channel, really helps get this content out to more people. And as always, you can check out the podcast, The New Hunter's Guide, and find that anywhere you download podcasts. I really appreciate you guys. God bless you. And until next time, go get them in the woods.